the beginning of the end for wild crypto.
Now Trump will come and save everyone.
Everything has already been decided in advance. That's how it is.
It's clear who stands for what and who needs it.
The exchange has bought itself new users.
Apparently a new trend is emerging.
Technology, emotions, or maybe just marketing.
I'm an old school guy. Inside the meme world, I just buy and hold.
So many people were sitting at the top really expecting a flip-flop, and
They see the market differently.
what signals point to potential and which ones might indicate an imminent dump?
Some people look at Bitcoin, but I try to look even higher.
Is this a pause before a new cycle or a global trend reversal?
It's time to start thinking.
Hello friends, you're on the Actiomic channel. Today our guest is Rustam. Rustam, hi.
Hello, how are you?
How are you feeling?
Fantastic. Did yoga this morning, feeling energized, had breakfast and ready to chat.
That's great. Okay. Let's get started then. Spring 2025 brought us some worrying turbulence in the market. Volumes became unstable and whale holdings decreased. Some people see this period as a reset, while others say it's the beginning of the end for the wild crypto era. How do you personally assess the current phase of the market? Is this a pause before a new cycle or a global trend reversal?
Well, look, the chess game is playing out differently for everyone. I believe that those who stick to the behavioral patterns of the previous bull runs in 2017 and 2021 will lose. Well, in fact, they've already lost because they're like, let's do it the way we used to. Now Trump will come and save everyone. Biden needs to go, Trump should stay. In the end, Trump came, and he has other things to deal with. Besides the crypto market, there are plenty of other concerns. That is, to end the war quickly, plus the trade wars. Just imagine how much money they make from trade wars with China and Europe, and how small the crypto market is compared to that. But I just recorded a podcast in Dubai with foreign influencers who work with the Senate and the State Department on adopting a strategic reserve. And they say that during his last presidential term, Trump used to say that crypto is nonsense, that it would never replace the fiat market. But now, on the contrary, he's in favor of crypto because the younger generation is developing. Eric Trump came to Dubai for Token 2049. I went there too. I think they were just shaking people out of the markets. And right now, there's basically a global reset happening in the entire world financial system because we used to have a financial monopoly in terms of the US. Everything was under their control and all settlements were in dollars. But now, for example, I don't know if you know this, the ASEAN countries gathered in Malaysia and discussed it.
Still, if we talk about the current trajectory, what exactly is driving the market? Is it technology, emotions, or just marketing in general?
It's all of them together. The question is, which market are we talking about? If we're talking about the meme market, then it's emotions, psychology to some extent. But they mix it with technology. Right now, everyone is paying a lot of attention to artificial intelligence. Trump already flew to Saudi Arabia, and they made a deal worth $1.4 trillion toward artificial intelligence. So it's a combination of factors. You just need to look at it from the perspective of Bitcoin. Everyone was betting on alt season, some were betting on meme season, but in the end, it turned out to be Bitcoin season. And the rest are just sitting on the sidelines.
So do you have any particular indicators that you especially rely on in moments like these? Perhaps when things are uncertain or changing?
Look, I only deal with memes when it comes to crypto. So, out of all the altcoins, I only have ETH and Solana just to swap them for meme coins. Well, I needed SUI yesterday, for example, when that hack happened. As for indicators, well, we look at the stats. We check on-chain data, the narrative, the website, Twitter, and read Discord. That's it, and then we decide whether to enter a trade or not. So it really depends on the strategy. But I also pay a lot of attention to the political situation, because it has a direct impact. So some people just look at the website on a basic level, others dig deeper into on-chain data, and some look at the whole market, depending on how they feel. For example, there are assets that are traded based on certain meme trends, like Ethereum or Solana. Some people watch Bitcoin, but I try to look even higher at the entire geopolitical situation, what's happening, how this chess game is being played out. Because right now, it's the battle of the three bodies, China, the US, and Russia. And it's fascinating to watch, since everything stems from that.
I agree. Well, you often talk about crypto as a tool for freedom and control, and behind that, as I understand it, it's your personal journey, right? How did you actually get into crypto, and what was your entry point? And what caught your attention back then that made you stay in this field?
Listen, well, I made my first transaction in 2017. I participated through affiliate programs. That's where we bought Ethereum. Yeah. Then I studied at a military academy. Yeah. After the military academy, that's when I made my first transaction. After that, we were involved in network marketing. I probably got seriously into crypto at the end of 2020 or 2021. Yeah. I had debts after my traditional business. I owed more than 20 million rubles. I raised investments for hookah lounges in Spain. I started a business. It's a long story. I won't go into it now. There are other podcasts about that. And I read books about paying off debts. And in terms of financial literacy, I had about $5,000 left for investments. So part of it went to paying off debts, part to cash expenses, helping my parents, a financial cushion, and what was left went into investments. And that's it. I had $5,000 for investments. I'm sitting in the Dominican Republic and asking my friend what to buy. He says, buy SHIBA. So I bought SHIBA for $2,000, went on stories, and basically gave a public signal for 4,000 times returns. I still have it on Instagram. I mean, I said it back then, it was alt season, BNB was taking off. Somewhere Ether was taking off too. Other alts as well. And I went on stories and said I bought 80 billion of some crap guys for $2,000. Well, everyone had already chickened out a long time ago. So, later, I was the one laughing.
So it turns out that very $2,000 made your fortune, right? In the Dominican Republic?
No, not that $2,000. I started trading it there. So the next day I wake up, I'm up 70%, and I'm like, oh, cool, locked it in. Then the hernia keeps growing, so I put in $5,000. Turned 5 into 10. Took out 5, for financial literacy. According to money management strategy. Then again, turned 5 into 15, locked in 10, then turned 5 into 20, locked in 17, turned 3 into 15, all on SHIBA. And I locked it all in, thought the party couldn't go on forever. And then I realized the task of a leader and an investor isn't just to be smart about what happened in the past and to apply those behavioral patterns. Because they don't apply anymore. The market has changed a lot, and everyone is waiting for this mega bull run. Now it's just going to play out differently. And that's it, and I thought, oh, it looks like a new trend is emerging. It's memes. At that time I had about $30,000 in savings. So I put it all into memes. If I had just not sold SHIBA, like they told me, just put it in and hold, then from $2,000, it would have turned into $8 million at the peak in October. So basically, I just needed to wait for about 180 days. But in the end, it turned out differently. In other words, the coin that people will make money on might not even exist yet. But actually, I didn't make the most money on SHIBA. It was on Kishu. Kishu was created at the end of April. In mid-April, it was the SHIBA whales. And I invested $7,000 in it, and at its peak, it was worth $2.2 million. Well, across the whole portfolio, it was 3.8, but I locked in 1.4 there. So I just kept holding and holding.
Okay, and among all these explosive moments, were there times when you wanted to quit everything? If so, what kept you going? Because as I understand it, you haven't left the market since then, right?
No, I never had the urge to quit everything. My philosophy is simple. You can die, but you can't lose. In other words, there is no state after the game. For example, when you play football, the whistle blows, that's it, the 90 minutes are over. But in life, you can die, but it's not scary. It's unclear what happens there. As long as you're alive, it's impossible to lose. You might be losing 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, but the game doesn't end. You need to learn to play better in your own neighborhood first, then move on to the city championship, then further to the national championship, the Champions League, and so on. Just move up to another league, change leagues. But the game doesn't end. Because of that, there was nothing like that. What I did have was that I went through a big drawdown. So my deposit grew to $540,000 and then dropped to $180,000, a 70% loss. Just like many people's deposits have dropped now because of the trading wars. Well, because Bitcoin went up to 74. And that's it. I remember my thoughts clearly. I was like, well, if you're not rich, there's no point in starting. And that's it, I just held on. Then there was a quick surge. It was a rapid reversal. You have to understand, the crypto market is very small. A single tweet can turn it around, from Trump or Elon Musk and so on. And basically, back then, from May 2nd or 3rd, my deposit went from $180,000 to $3.8 million in just 8 days, in a week. And that's it. It happens very quickly if someone wants it to. The big players. You see, we're all just hamsters. If someone needs to, they'll turn us around and shoot us to the moon. The question is, who has the guts to hold on?
Well, in April and May, the market was once again flooded with memes. this time with a different undertone. Trump is being traded with a geopolitical angle, and many new tokens are being launched with virtually zero marketing. So what is actually important right now? When analyzing memecoins, what signals indicate potential and which ones might point to an imminent dump, for example?
An imminent dump can be indicated by the accumulation phase. So, for example, I don't know, Kakor, do you know the meme?
Yes.
Well, when it was at 1.5 to 3 million, we were watching the on-chain data very closely. We looked at which wallets were getting in, and we understood. This is a cool narrative. Everything is well put together. The on-chain looks good, and there will be a pump. And we still hold it to this day. What is he now? 26 million or 27 at the time of the podcast? I think this might be a new gem. Let me explain why. Because when the entire market is being crushed, there are tokens that will rise. Let's say the IOC is there. How long is it? 3HS1 gave. Well, the billionth token is essentially blue chips. There are memes that will rise, but that's just how psychology works. And in markets, psychology repeats itself. It's easier to launch a new meme on Ethereum or Solana, a potential billion-dollar meme, and that's how you attract the masses and bring interest back to the market. Remember last year? Nera, we were watching it in the private club when it had a $2 million market cap. We were looking at this neural network thing, the Neuro Cabal one, and in the end, Ben once listed the meme at a $12 or $14 million market cap. Just crazy. Or, if you go back further, remember during the bear market when PEPE appeared? We were watching Dexys, and the meme was at a $5 million cap. It was like a holiday. People were popping champagne, and then PEPE shows up. In 2 weeks, it ends up on Binance or something, shoots up to $1 billion, and that's it. And it really stretches your mindset and brings back more faith in this market. And maybe Kakora is one of those assets that will just suddenly get listed on Binance, and off it goes. Everyone's like, oh, here comes the trend again.
But notice, if we're talking about PEP, we have to admit that no one has managed to create more striking marketing from memes than PEP did at the time.
SHIBA?
No, what I actually mean is the incredible speed and the meme revival that came from the launch of a single stablecoin, because SHIBA, for example, didn't immediately bring that kind of money into the market. Because you can't really compare them since the market was already pumped up back then. Everything was going well with the main assets. But here, after such a lull, a new wave suddenly appeared. That's why I think PEP had really good marketing, and making it was a strategically important decision.
100%? Do you know how much the Ethereum Foundation made in fees?
No, I haven't calculated it.
Almost $500 million.
Impressive.
It's clear who's behind all this and who needs it. You see, the crypto market has gotten smarter, and people have gotten smarter too. And they understand that, basically, when some altcoin is launched, there are funds behind it, they're offloading. For them, it's just business, they're already sitting on their profits, they don't care at all about the community, there's no real activity or anything like that. So, look, this year, the unfreezing of rounds for alts amounts to $36 billion. How long does it take for memes to unfreeze? 0. Understand? A cleaner story in this regard. And the market has become smarter, it understands that funds are being unloaded and so on. And many big players, the same funds, they are sitting. In memes, they just don't highlight it because it's technically disadvantageous for them in terms of reputation, in terms of directing the crowd's attention. They just sit there calmly and make money.
Well, now with memes, and not just with memes, even with some projects, there's already this kind of strained relationship because, for example, the arrest of the head of Blum, right, has shaken not only the Russian crypto community, especially against the backdrop of constant scams, freezes, leaks of some insider information. People immediately start to wonder who they can trust at all. Did the whole Blum story personally show you any kind of pattern? Is this an isolated incident or a symptom of a bigger problem? What's really going on right now?
Look, what kind of problem do you mean? It's not an isolated case because before this, Andreyunin was detained. You have to understand, if we're talking about our country, it's a space without rules. Although they also set some rules themselves, so he was detained for fraud. Yesterday I saw information that he was detained because he was selling these ads on Tapu, slaves. Yeah. It was fake traffic, and apparently there were some resourceful guys who were buying ads for $100,000 or $200,000, and they put pressure on certain agencies and asked for action. Maybe he'll return the money now and they'll let him go somewhere. Given all this, it's hard to judge. It's quite a story. It's a pity. It's a pity, but everyone knows what game they're playing. If you move up to another level, you have to cover yourself from all sides. And practice shows that, of course, crypto is going to get squeezed more and more over time. More and more and more. And they'll be more careful with this kind of business ventures.
I agree. The question is different. It's not about the owners, it's actually about the regular consumers. How many people were just sitting there with tap-off? Seriously, right? Those tap-off holders? Hoping to get something out of it.
Look, my first question is for the guys who were buying ads, for example. What kind of audience were they expecting to attract? Wealthy crypto investors. Did you tap?
No.
I didn't even tap. I have nothing better to do. It's clear what kind of audience is there. What kind? What level? Yeah, maybe over time they'll grow, get some cash, or maybe someone has a business. Their first encounter with crypto will happen in the next bull run, and that will be a liquid audience. Doubtful, but okay. That's the first thing. Second, Notcoin did its thing. They introduced a new trend, they gave away some cash. Yeah, it's questionable. Some people got blocked if they had a lot of cash, like referral money and so on. Everyone just contributes their part to the crypto market. They brought in these new people who might get activated in the next bull run because they've already had their first touch point. At the very least, they registered on an exchange and withdrew their $10.
Agreed.
They've already had some contact.
So basically, the exchange just bought itself new users. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. But the exchanges quickly realized that these weren't liquid users and abandoned the idea.
What's your take on the issue of Russian crypto exchanges? Should we expect them or just forget about it? Because it's already the second year now. There have been talks about launching legal crypto exchanges in Russia, but at the same time, everything is quiet right now. Do you think legal Russian crypto exchanges will appear in the foreseeable future this year? Or is it still just a utopia?
This year, I don't think so. You have to understand what the premise is for just opening an exchange. Someone from the top has to give the order. Someone who deals with digital finance and has access to the commander-in-chief, so to speak. Listen, I've been hearing these rumors about exchanges and so on since 2017, when I first got into crypto. One of the first videos I saw was where Putin is sitting at a meeting and says, "The Stone Age didn't end because we ran out of stones, but because new technologies appeared and we don't need to." That video is from around 2016 or 2017, and he says we can't ignore new technologies like blockchain and so on. The guys were dealing with other issues, which turned out to be more important on a global scale. Maybe with better rumors, they'll actually do it. It's just a question of who will be responsible for it and how high quality the product will be. They want to get rid of YouTube too, so they made RooTube. And what happened?
Everyone just installs VPNs on their TVs.
Yeah, exactly. So VKontakte is investing billions of dollars, but it's just putting the company in the red. They try to compete, but they can't. But to drive minds like Durov out of the country, for example, is done without a second thought. You have to dig deeper on a conceptual level when it comes to state policy. Because look, talented minds, for example, Alana was created by guys from the CIS, and there are many others, like Buterin, who is from Canada, but his parents are Russian, I think. So a lot of talented people leave because the right environment for work just isn't being created. Or if the right environment is created, once the work reaches a certain scale, like with Udorov, guys in uniform show up and say, "Let's make some room."
The movie Tetris. That's a really cool movie, Tetris. I recommend everyone watch it. By the way, I was surprised. I didn't know that Tetris was actually invented in Russia. But it turned out to be an interesting movie. I also wanted, to ask again about something. A lot of people are asking about this. There's this concept of internal workings in crypto. There are private chats, alpha groups, communities. Basically, the whole market seems to exist in this sort of, as it appears to regular users, behind-the-scenes world. And more often, it turns out that the price on the chart is already secondary because everything has already been decided in advance, right? Like there are some pre-arranged updates, pre-sales happening. So how important is it to actually be part of the crypto crowd, or can you make money without connections?
Have you seen that same chart? Who makes money in crypto? It's either someone who's super dumb or super smart, but the middle mind doesn't make money. Listen, being in the crowd, that's basically the root, the foundation. That's what I think. Basically, all resources walk on two legs and leave on two legs. In other words, all resources come through people and leave through people. To get a signal for thousands of X's, you don't need to connect to aliens. You can get it through a person. In fact, I even gave a public signal on SHIBA. Just from a story, a guy could have come in with $1,000 and become a dollar millionaire. So the resources came to him. The question is how he got access to the information.
If we look at the question of trading, right? For example, we can take the story of some old-timers who bought Bitcoin or Ethereum. You don't necessarily have to be part of the crowd. If we look at practice in the last 2 to 3 years, it's simple. If you bought Bitcoin 3 years ago and just waited, you'd still be in profit. And here's the question. If we're talking about trading, yes, 100%, because there is an understanding of insider information about pre-sales, new listings, and so on. But if we take the standard approach of buying the top 3 or top 4 assets by market capitalization, do you still need to be involved to invest in these positions? When investing in these assets, do you need to be part of the community?
No, you can just press the buy button on the exchange, right? So, if your question is about strategy, if you're running a traditional business or working a regular job and you're just buying some Bitcoin, then you don't need to be in the community. But if your deposit is smaller, then what's the point of buying Bitcoin? For what kind of deposit? For $1,000?
Mining companies, for example, buy Bitcoin without even following the market.
But we're talking about retail investors. Let's say an average user. What's the point for him to buy Bitcoin if he works a regular job for 100,000 rubles and puts aside 10% of his salary to buy it? So it's about risk and significance. Yes, maybe over a span of 10, 20, or 30 years, he'll have a great retirement fund. But if he wants higher speed, then the community becomes critically important. It's simply a matter of the pace you choose to move at. Of course, you can just buy Ethereum, just buy Bitcoin, just add it to your deposit. If you have millions of dollars and you just want to make it 2 times during a bull run, then sure, just buy Ethereum. But if you want to make a life-changing amount, like, I don't know, 10 to 15 million, then you need to think differently. And you need to think in a way that you also get help from people who have already gained experience in this market. I mean, I paid millions of dollars for my experience. Just, well, losses basically from trading on the crypto market. It's much better to buy someone else's experience than to earn your own. Although people's psychology works differently and they end up earning their own experience.
After the hype at the end of 2024 and the multiple growth in January for Bitcoin, Bitcoin had been stagnating again until recently. But what's important is something else. Why did it start happening that if before everyone watched Bitcoin, if Bitcoin was going up, all the altcoins would go up too? Then this year, and since the middle of the year, from 2024 up to now, the trend has been the opposite. Bitcoin goes up or stays flat or even goes down. In other words, the percentage doesn't grow in relation, and that's it. So what trend do you see now? Are we always going to be ready to accept this fact, or will that indicate a return? The one where if Bitcoin is taking off, then altcoins will soon take off too.
Well, look, apparently someone needed it so that only Bitcoin would make this move, and altcoins wouldn't. That's the first point. In other words, there are just certain reference points that we rely on. In other words, the initial data, for example, Bitcoin is growing, but altcoins aren't. Why is that? Either they're not pumping it, or by the way, maybe, look, for instance, Solana is faster than Ethereum. There's potential there. Trump launched a meme on Solana, so it could, if it tried, potentially flip Ethereum in terms of market cap, at least theoretically. But the guys don't need that. Those guys already are running billion-dollar companies. They've got enough money for a lifetime. They might not need to grow or show the kind of exponential growth we saw in previous bull runs. But that's just one theory, because if they stand out too much, people will come and ask, guys, what's going on here? Why would they risk it? They're already sitting on piles of money as it is, and they probably couldn't care less about the users. Everyone's shouting about decentralization and so on. Yesterday I saw what happened with Sui. Yeah, Sui was shouting about it. A decentralized blockchain centrally froze $160 million. When did that happen? So, it's just about decentralization in name only. Exactly. As for Beck, yes, there was growth. We're waiting for alt season there, meme season 2. But we need to understand how we're different from previous bull runs. Liquidity is spread thin. There are a lot of assets. Even back then, there was a mega meme season. I got into every token with Inu in its name, and they all went up. It's just that now. It's just artificial intelligence, dogs, frogs. You really have to figure it all out now. Liquidity is spread thin. You have to understand that the market is changing, and the way I see this bull run, it won't be like before, where everything performed well. You'd have to pour money into the market. You'd have to, wait for the money printed to turn on and so on. But the point is, there's still a global crisis happening in the world. And there's a reshuffling on a global scale, meaning the financial system is being reset. Even the country Asian +3, the countries of Southeast Asia. Did you even notice what Trump did that was so unique? Something that was impossible to imagine before. He united the countries of Southeast and Northwest Asia. That was absolutely impossible before. Just by his actions alone, and they don't want to depend on the emotional actions of the so-called president of the world's main country. And I believe the bull run will be sectoral. Right now, the bull run was basically in Bitcoin. There, the distribution will start. Maybe there's enough room for growth there because a lot of newcomers are getting involved, and Bitcoin could easily hit 120 to 140. Then the distribution phase will pass and dominance will decrease. After that, we need to watch how the alt season and meme season will behave. I think it will shoot up sector by sector. For example, something like RWA might start taking off because of the liquidity freeze. Everyone has a lot of faith in Ondo. I've talked to American influencers, and they're really hyped about Ondo. If we talk about memes, not all meme coins will take off. It's also going to be sectoral. Some related to artificial intelligence will pump, then maybe frogs will take off, I don't know, dogs and so on. And the point is, with these sectoral bull runs within sectors and subsectors, you just need to catch them, take your profit, and watch where the next move is going to happen.
So, what do you think if this big global shift from real money to digital is happening right now? What kind of cycle are we looking at? How many more years do we have to wait for this proper transition? So it turns out that right now the system is working unstably.
It will continue to work unstably, maybe until 2030 or 2032. There is always a certain instability, and the world itself is like a maze with a certain word. It reveals itself differently to each person. That's all. And the point is, you have to look for points of support. One of these points of support is that local wars need to end. Right now, there are 6 local wars going on. They might wear each other down. Agreements must be made about costly wars. Now they've agreed to make changes and will review after 90 days. What rhetoric will follow? Because if the rhetoric of the 3 bodies emerges, that China is uniting very closely with Russia, even though Putin is flirting with the phone, with Trump, but Trump is also caught in a vice, he's trapped by his own emotionality, I'll end the war in one day. We'll bend everyone here. America is a great power, and so on. It turned out everything is not like that. He gets really angry about how things are turning out and is ready to make some emotional decisions. We could talk about the global situation for a long time, but let's discuss crypto, for example. Maybe we're entering a long growth cycle, so we need to understand that maybe Trump has just shaken up the market, shaken out the excess, and the next 3.5 years of his administration could see good growth. Although, if you look, I'll digress from the topic sometimes, if you open the 200-day Bitcoin cycle, it's just, I agree, yes. That is, there's not even a correction there. So maybe we'll be like the S&P 500, with a decade-long growth and only small corrections along the way. If you look at Trump for 3.5 years, there could be growth. Of course, there will be corrections and so on, but you definitely need to pick sectors. After that, he can't extend his presidential term any further. Although the world is so, right now that seems impossible. But maybe somewhere they'll rewrite the Constitution. Just look at how things are happening. The Democrats were shouting over there. Trump won by a margin of 3 or 4%, if I'm not mistaken. Well, by a small margin. And he's creating a certain amount of chaos. And trade wars and so on. And people are coming out to protest there. But the Democrats, who poured $20 billion into the election campaign, are silent. Where is Kamala Harris? Why isn't she saying anything? In other words, they've gone quiet. Either they've somehow come to an agreement or something like that, and now the whole American society sees that Trump is doing whatever he wants. And they're staying silent. The question is, this isn't earning them any points. And maybe after Trump, Vance will come, who will crack down on crypto even harder. As for crypto, there's even a video where he's at the meeting or in the Senate asking, do you even have any crypto? Like, do you buy Bitcoin? And they're like, are you an idiot or something? So he's even more anti-crypto. And they don't even remove Trump in some cases because they understand that if Trump is taken out, then immediately, well, the prime minister, so to speak, takes office. And that person is even more of a nutcase than Trump. Trump will move up. Yeah. Right. And maybe they're preparing for this. Look, Trump will serve 4 years there unless they rewrite the Constitution or something else. Then, let's say the Republicans win again. That's Pence. He's also a crypto guy. Boom, now we have an 8-year cycle. I would just trade everything sector by sector. I really believe in AI narratives, both in the meme sector and in general. So the world will change dramatically. Because look, when the internet was being adopted, it happened gradually. People were cautious and so on. But look at how quickly artificial intelligence is being adopted. Back then, internet entrepreneurs would wonder, do I need a website or not? They would consider it and could still build their business offline. But now, all traditional business owners are thinking, damn, how do I implement artificial intelligence? The pace is extremely fast, and things are changing very quickly. You just need to find your niche and focus on your work.
Hello, this is the Axiom channel. Our company develops Web3 products for businesses, and we address a wide range of issues related to the tokenization of your business and other products. We develop smart contracts, launch blockchain projects, and of course share our expertise through our YouTube channel so you can understand what cryptocurrency is. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated on news and new releases. This is Axiom.
Yeah, 100%. So for example, you mentioned sectors. Okay, if we take the meme sector and the sector tied to seasons, like summer, which meme coins would you consider buying for a cycle, say buying in May and selling, locking in profits before autumn? Is there anything you could share about that?
Well, if you buy before summer and lock in profits before autumn, that means there should be growth during the summer. It's a strange trade, considering that everything slows down in the summer. Although you see, what is the crypto market really? It's about testing hypotheses. Basically, it's game theory. And the point is that everyone thought, yeah, spring would come, Trump would show up, but in the end, it all got shut down. And how does the crowd think now? Summer is usually quiet. Everything is at the bottom. Maybe they'll play it differently and make the summer wild and the autumn dull. Although right now, everyone is gearing up for autumn. Like autumn is coming and so on. Although I'm also getting ready for autumn. How the week closes for Bitcoin will basically determine the first months of summer. What's the general mood? Because there's a lot going on this week. I don't even know. Just when the podcast will come out, we're recording it. Today is the 23rd, right? Yeah, the 23rd. This week, a lot of indicators are coming out, and a lot of Fed chairmen are speaking, and everything will depend on their rhetoric. If even one of them hints that they're going to raise the rate, everything will go down. Yesterday, or the day before, the Treasury released some statements and the stock market dropped. That 20-year government bonds, I think, either dropped in price or went up. I don't remember exactly. Yeah. If we talk about memes, I'm picking up memes that are currently in the accumulation zone. That's what I'm accumulating now. That's the same Kokora. That's also GME. I really believe in GME. If we're talking about, well, signals. Yeah, if we're talking about really tiny cap ones, I think Doge Father will show itself. It could go up to 1 million. Yeah, and you know how I think? I watch what teams do during a market crash. I paid a lot of attention to what the teams were doing. For example, some teams like the Rebra just gave up completely. And they just crashed. One of their admins even, I think, almost committed suicide. But for example, A16Z, I don't know if you know them, or Fortcoin, they worked really hard. A 16Z was even close to collaborating with the Solana Foundation. So at the moment when everyone was dropping by 70%, PEPE fell by 70% or 75%, you need to watch what the teams are doing. Are they abandoning their communities? How much are they supporting the movement? How often are new announcements coming out? That is, during times of turbulence, during crises. I picked those memes that have proven themselves really well during times of crisis and turbulence.
Cool, that's awesome. Thanks for the advice. That's really valuable. I think you'll find it interesting too. Last question. I'm curious to hear your opinion about the fact that memes used to work. The first and second wave of meme launches and their eras seem to work in a standard way. But now, for example, I see that especially in the DEX market, there are more and more front-running bots appearing. And right now, in general, there's some kind of mempool race going on because there's auto trading happening in some places. And in others, there are people who jump in. They buy up quickly, wait, and then sell. And the strategies of these bots can be completely different. So now, compared to previous meme eras, is it harder for an ordinary user to trade?
It's much harder. Back then, there was no Solana, but if you take 2021, there were pump and dumps and so on Ethereum. Yes, there were scams, but it was pretty easy to check. There were scammers, but not all tokens were scams. And secondly, this market was just emerging. It was in its infancy, and there were fewer tokens, so the liquidity was focused on a smaller number of tokens. But I'm telling you, any token I added to the list and checked the contracts, if everything was fine, it would show good growth when there was a general meme run. Now, it's much harder. On Solana, any kid can just press a button, add liquidity, launch a meme, and trade it, and then rug pull it. On Ethereum, yes, people were more diamond hands. They know how to hold on because of the fees and so on. Now it's much harder to trade, and that's why you need to stick to a strategy. I mean, before, even I myself. Look, there are old-timers in crypto. There are old-timers who just believe in the all season. They ignore memes. And there are even old-timers within the meme space. At one point, I realized that I was an old-timer within memes myself. I'm like, damn, I'm buying and holding. But then I realized the market has changed, and you don't need to hold here. So if you take Solana, the best strategy, if you make a 2x there, just pull yourself together. New ones are just emerging. Make a 2x, take out your principal, another 50 to 80% profit, and leave the rest to go to the moon. If you take Ethereum, you can just make a 2x, take out your principal, and let one principal stay there. But keep an eye on it, maybe trade it later. Otherwise, you'll get wiped out, kicked out of the market entirely, and your deposit will be gone. Or, if you understand parachains, that something is going to take off. For example, when we were accumulating Koru around 4 million, 3 million, 2 million, we understood that you could make an upside there. But now we're going to start partially taking profits around the 35 to 40 million range, although it could go to 100. You also need to understand that if you're getting into trading, like how to choose niches, I always advise people to go on dates, on investment dates. So a beginner comes in, I don't know, let's say beginners are watching you on Shpatka, go on investment dates. What does that mean? It means going on dates with different investment models. Just like when you're choosing a girlfriend, you go on dates with 10 different girls, and the one who matches your philosophy and life principles, you build a family and have kids with her. It's the same thing here. You enter the crypto market. The crypto market isn't just about Bitcoin. There are different niches here, and you choose. Maybe you like working with DeFi protocols, maybe you're into NFTs. It's strange. Maybe you enjoy doing airdrops, drop hunting. Maybe you like trading. Maybe you just like buying Bitcoin and holding Ethereum for the long term. Maybe you like playing around with futures. That's it. Or maybe you like trading meme coins. What is it about meme coins that you like? Do you like holding meme coins long term? Trading on CXs, DEXs, spamming for fun, or with established meme coins and so on. And that's it. And you test out different investment models, go on a date with them, and whichever investment model you like, you build a relationship with it. So I'm building a relationship with the meme market, so to speak. That's it.
Cool. Thanks, Rustam. At the end, I usually have this thing we call a quick fire round. We ask questions, answer briefly, think deeply, but quickly. Let's go. What's more important, private insight or open analytics?
Both. Private insight is good if you can make money from it, if you can hit it big. Open analytics is something you simply have to possess. Otherwise, you won't get far relying only on private insights. Sometimes there's little, and sometimes there's none at all.
Is 5% of your portfolio in meme coins a lot or a little?
It's not much, of course.
Are exchanges partners or potential enemies?
Partners. They create the ecosystem for trading. And they can be enemies if you don't know how to interact with them and you hit the button with 100 times leverage.
If you had to choose one asset for 5 years, which token would it be?
PEPE.
Who's smarter in crypto? An old trader from the 2017 exchanges or kids from Telegram bots?
You mean from Telegram bots like Taplock?
No, I mean from the trading bots, the ones who just sit there.
I don't know, it's a strange situation. Well, maybe in terms of experience, the ones from 2017 are smarter. But I even get it. I'm actually bringing people onto my team now who have a fresh perspective on the market. So they've only been in the market for a year, maybe 6 months, and they see the market differently. For example, I really got into the market at the beginning of 2021, and I had a fresh perspective. I invested, and it was life-changing for me. But the guys who've been around since 2017 looked at me like I was an idiot. And sometimes a fresh perspective on the market is more important than a jaded one.
Okay. What's the most toxic but profitable asset you've ever held?
The Finico token, when they tokenized the company.
Kazan, FNK? We remember. Delete all your wallets and go offline or go through another crash?
Yeah, of course. Go through the crash, like we haven't before. Well, so what if, say, you lost, so what? Or lost your deposit, so what? Go get the regular job or what? Well, some people do leave, they change.
Fields. It doesn't have to be a regular job. Some people leave to do something only offline.
But the crypto market isn't for everyone. A lot of people just live off those flashy marketing stories, like some trader invested $100 and made 10 million. They don't realize it's all marketing. The admins themselves, the team behind Tokyo Tough, it's just someone from the team making it up, or it's their moment in the hype, like with Liquid, where someone supposedly became a billionaire in Bitcoin, either going long or short, whatever. It's just marketing hype, nothing more.
Okay, who will you never become in the crypto world?
A pulse chaser.
If the entire market disappeared tomorrow, what's the first thing you'd do?
I'd go into coaching. I like working with people. That's probably what I'll do after the bull run, you could say.
Yeah? Well, that's right. You've got to live for yourself, right, boy?
I already live for myself. I've automated my life. I've studied myself deeply. People don't know themselves. They live in illusions until they're 50. I've figured out who I am, what motivates me, what food suits me best, what kind of sleep works for me, which vitamins to take, how to live, and so on. Right now, I'm living my ideal day. I do what I like. In other words, there's nothing that I'm forced to do.
Cool. We have one last question. Is crypto ultimately about freedom or a game?
For me, freedom and a game seem to correlate. It's freedom through play. Okay. Freedom through knowing how to play the game right and understanding its rules.
Okay. Thank you, Rustam.
Yes, thank you very much.
It was a great conversation. Thank you for coming over. Guys, we'll leave all of Rustam's contacts in the description below the video. If you have any questions, we can send people your way. Do you offer consultations or do you have some kind of club?
Well, there's a private club. I have a Telegram channel where I chat. And my personal contact is there too, in case anyone wants to ask something. We could even do some kind of contest. Let them write, I don't know, the name of a coin, and I can give them a personal consultation. If someone guesses the price of a certain coin, for example.
All right, good. Which coin are we picking?
Well, let's say whoever writes the correct price for PEPE on July 15th, but the contest ends on June 30th, so that people don't just submit their guesses the day before.
You get the idea, whoever
is closest.
So, you need to predict the price of PEPE by July 15th, but you have to submit your guess in the comments under the video. We'll write it right here, and then Rustam will answer questions. Whoever is the closest will win a consultation.
Yes, a personal consultation for an hour with me and my team. And you need to write not just the price, but also give feedback on my podcast.
What
did you like the most and why?
All right, guys, go for it. Good luck, I believe in you. Thank you all. Thank you, Rustam.
Goodbye, everyone. Let's stay in touch.